This video is from 2024, working through this example together, and by together I mean me, from this sheet. So gather this sheet. You need your Z table, and you need your reference sheet for that. I recommend you working with me and then stopping and pausing to make sure you understand all the steps that go into it. First, I'm going to read through the problem and then underline important things. We see that 200 households were sampled, so that's our sample. The proportion of households that had toxic radon levels were 127 out of the 200. Sometimes that comes as a percentage. You can convert it, you're gonna need the number, so you can convert it to a decimal. Highly recommend don't round until the very end. Your confidence level is 95%. Alpha, that's 1 minus the confidence level, so it's 0.05 or 5%. Notice the confidence level is the shaded middle area of your confidence interval. The 5% is remaining split between two tails, okay? So you have to calculate this. That was doing step 1 from this reference sheet, so I would go back to this. Then you have to check, is it feasible to continue with this confidence interval? Basically, is your sample size large enough so that it mimics a normal distribution? So you check sample size times your proportion, sample size times 1 minus a proportion. Both my numbers, 73 and 127, are greater than or equal to 10, so it's okay to continue with this. Next, we need our z-score. Okay, so we need the value. Basically, remember, that's going to be, where's the boundary that's going to give us the width of the confidence interval. So I want the boundary value, the z-score of 0.025. That's the area of half of the remaining white space. Okay, so you go on your z-table, you have to find 0.25 in the middle here. I find it here. It's going to come up a lot. You might want to circle it. So that is what? Negative 1.96. That's how you read the table. It's a negative number, but since we're going to ultimately add and subtract what it's used in, it doesn't matter if it's negative or positive. Just use the positive value. We're done with step 3, so now we have to do step 4. Remember, your nose is right in the middle, and you're gonna find the gap or the width here to add and subtract from your nose to get the full confidence interval. So that's the margin of error. We need to calculate this. So we're doing step 4 right now. Set it up, write down what you're doing. Make sure your square root comes all the way down here because the 200 is also square rooted. And that's your communication of that. Highly recommend looking at the back of your reference sheet and practicing using your calculator properly. I recommend, what do I recommend? I recommend doing the inside. This is the inside of the square root, then square rooting, then multiplying by your z-score. Practice it, make sure you get roughly that. Don't round until the very end. When I multiply those two together, that's what I get for this problem, for this margin of error. That's the thing you're adding and subtracting from your sample proportion to get the full range of numbers. So we're doing step 4. So we want the proportion plus and minus. This is shorthand for I'm adding it and I'm subtracting it. I'm doing 2 things, yeah? That's gonna give me my confidence interval. So I take my proportion, my sample proportion, I add the MOE, I subtract the MOE, that's my range to give me my confidence interval. And finally, we're on step 5, which we have to summarize in context. So we say, well, we are 95% confident. That was our confidence level. That's how all this came about. That gave us our Z-score. That's from the 95%. We're confident that the true proportion of homes in the Pennsylvania area with the bad toxic, awkward, not really awkward, toxic is between 56.83% and 70.17%. You're done.